All right, welcome back to Market Master Roland Attenborough. Okay, brothers and sisters, let's just jump right into the chart here. We've got our downtrending trend lines about what I think is happening with the market. You know that I've been talking about these lower levels back in early April. We talked about the market making its way down. Of course, as we have bear market rallies, we've talked about these channels in these bear market rallies and how they can last sometimes longer than human emotions can handle in trading. I wanted to point out that these white angles moving up in our bear market channel, these are all exactly the same angle. And notice how well they capture the market. And next, how when we break below the lower channel angle that moves up, that once we get below this, and it signifies a lot of weakness that is showing up in the market. And I wanted to just talk about what happens when we get below these areas, as I've placed these trend lines on here and these horizontal ray lines here, that once we get below this, it's down we go. So here we are. We're following the same patterns that we see from these fall offs, and these last typically anywhere between up to around 21 days. And while we're looking at this, I'd like to also speak to you about a offer we have going on right now. And my guiding teacher, William Gann here, he was born June 6, 1878, and I'm celebrating his birthday like it's my own, as I feel that his spirit resonates very deeply inside me as I'm able to discuss his methods with technical precision. I've gone ahead and I've constructed this natural square scientific forecasting instrument. No other instrument on the market is able to do what our instrument does, because I have taken all the teachings, I've added the zodiac, I've correctly aligned it, I've added the planets to plot, plus all the rings for the prices in longitude. And right now, up until June 6th, I have a 25% off discount on all our products and services. So go ahead and text me at 1250-212-6922 or email me at theboff13@gmail.com. All right, let's get back into the chart here, and let's just start looking at what I think is going to take place. As you can see, I've continued and extended our lines beyond the uh, the breaking points where I think that will be. This blue line actually represents the 36 and 38% level from the two previous campaigns in our bear market rallies and the changes moving down. So this is a medium guess line or a guide to what we could expect for prices should they break down below our 59. I've put a horizontal ray here, and as we've discussed, the uh, the breakdown of these channels here, which are all equal, by the way, going back to October when I warned you that the bull market was over, and of course I got a lot of laughter, but here I am. I'm still the leading analyst that believes that very much from our past work that we're going to see a continuation of this downward. Are we going to see moves up again like we have? Absolutely. We're going to see several more of these before we hit our bottom, which will be somewhere, as I've said to you, this could happen as soon as September, but most likely October, November, and December. That's our 12, 13, and 14 months. However, just because I say that we can bottom out like we have in the last four cycles doesn't necessarily mean that we will, because we need to take a look at another market metric that I believe is very important, and I'm going to bring that into view. So talking about our tops here, our first one came in this July around the 14th, and then another one in August. So 12 months, 13 and 14 months would bring us to July, August, and September from this top. And from August, our 12 months would be August, September, and October. And of course, from this top, which I've been talking to you about, was the last point of our time cycle, which would bring us to October, November, and December, as in the last cycles that have taken place, and we've had tremendous bottoms. So let's just go ahead now and look again at what we're talking about here. We expect the market to extend down. We're going to have another rally up here, basing upon these lows here inside this channel. You can see this area here is ripe for holding the market. However, we broke through this trend line, and the mood and the acceleration down is has been quite epic again. You know, this is nothing new. The markets continuously do this. They test our patience up into these levels, and when that happens, we have a major change in trend. We've been talking about these quite significantly. So from this point forward, we do expect there to be several reattempts at our low level, and then another retest again into this area. And this probably could come back in to our July 4th area, where we were talking about how we had a planet or a set of planets that were going to make a, right? We have Uranus and Mars. The planet Uranus represents technology and transportation and all those things, and Mars is an energy and a war planet. These two come together and are conjunct on the 4th of July. This is an American holiday, and I expect a major change in trend and a retest. It's probably likely that we could bounce back up and have a retest. It doesn't necessarily mean that we will. We could essentially move down, be retesting this area, or pushing down further by this time. So I'm watching very closely as to what's happening and the direction and velocity of this market. You know that I've been calling for this to come down to these lofting levels down here, and it's looking like the evidence of that is starting to mature. While we're here looking at this, wondering how far or what we could expect to see, let's go take a look at our handy indicators. So I've drawn on some indicators with our trend lines here, and that when we move down, and by the way, these trend lines, these orange, they're exactly the same angle moving down. So from this, we get a guide stick down to our bottom here, which I'm trying to show you here on this. So it's likely and possible that we actually move down and continue to make a bottom and then a change in trend. And when this happens here, it looks like we're going to have another retest once we've bottomed off of this horizontal ray, which is the same as these last two campaigns right here. So I'm watching very closely the velocity of the move here, and I just wanted to share that with you, because a lot of people were saying to me that oh no, we're in a bull market, and I'm sticking to my guns. We're in a 12-month bear market, and I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that history has an epiphany of repeating or reoccurring, rhyming. Doesn't have to be exact, but it sure is similar. Let's go take a look at another indicator. This is the RSI. Notice that our trend lines are exactly the same from this period forward, noticing how once we break above this trend line, we get back into a bull market rally. So again, we're down here. It looks like we're about to suffer a turnaround fairly soon here. I said we were going to have another pump before a dump, and I get this question often, and I just wanted to point that out, that get ready, as we're going to make another turnaround. We're coming off bouncing close to this horizontal ray, which is going back from a very long position. I think the square is covering it right now, but it goes back a long way. And I wanted to point out that we need to watch our indicators as well as what the market is doing on the chart, because it gives us a good indication of what we can expect. Let's go take a look at momentum. I did not put any angular moves down on these ones, but you can see that the momentum has rolled over and turned down, and we have lower tops. So it looks very much like we're going to be seeking a low, probably somewhere around this early July. Not saying that that has to happen, but it's looking an awful lot like the momentum indicator is pointing down to this area. However, we will be having another retest somewhere, a pump, and then another dump, as we've seen in these previous campaigns with the momentum indicators here. Hopefully that's not covering it with the square. So I just wanted to show you that one. Let's go have a look at the leading and lagging indicator. And of course this is our stochastic. We're right now down into the basement. It looks like we're about to experience another pump with a dump before we continue on in our downward posture. So I wanted to share those indicators with you, give you an idea of what I'm thinking, and the fact that I've stuck to my guns, even though everyone told me, well, not everyone, but there's some people out there that believe that, this time the market's different, and I hear this hundreds of times. Oh, it's different. It's different. No, it's not. It's not different, guys. We're in a 1-year bear market, and until we have the Clarity Act signed, it's passed through Congress, and we have unilateral decisions on what this Clarity Act is stating for holding cryptos, because this is really important, and this applies as well to my blockchain project, Bullseye, which I've talked to you about. I'm a self-taught coder programmer, and I've created this project. I haven't finished the coding 100% because with the Clarity Act right now, being that its wording is still, in my opinion, it's still a little ambiguous, and I still think that there's a lot of room for us to move down, because we're in a 12-month bear market, and our Clarity Act has just been brought before us, and we had a new Fed chair come in, and when that happens, I've told you in a previous tutorials that we have turnovers and we have tumultuous moves down, and I still feel very strongly that we are going to see much lower prices in Bitcoin. Typically the market moves down about 70 to 80%. We've gone over that in the previous tutorials. And what would that look like? Well, this would bring us down into the 40 and to the mid 30s, and we could go as low as into this 20 area. Even though I have this circle here, this circle is not representing that the price has to hit this. This is a very far out target, and this is just covering our time cycle for November, and that's why I have this here. I'm very much interested in what's happening at the end of the year, and of course I did show you that the end of the year is our 13th month, and we have, well, Mercury will go direct then after having a few retrogrades and direct motions, and we have a lot of things happen. Mercury represents communication and things going forward or backward, depending on its movement and of course the market. So Mars and Jupiter will be conjunct the mid part of November, where I think that we're going to see, you know, a turnaround. And I'm talking about Mars and Jupiter, and they will be conjunct somewhere over here in the sign of Leo. And that area on the ring of our longitude, we have 49 and 50, and then on the opposite side we have over here as low as 50 and 40. We have 67 and 68. So we could just bounce around in this area here and hold. However, I really do think that during the past campaigns, we've had a 70 and 80% pullback. Those have been our, just our guide stick movements. Once we did have a 93% pullback. What would a 93% pullback look like for us? Well, that would pull us and drag us back into about the 28 and 23 level, somewhere in there. So just because I have this circle here doesn't necessarily mean that we will be bottoming around these areas, but I'm watching it very closely for a rhythm and rhyming pattern. So this is why I've pointed this out to you. I've explained to you I want you to be extremely careful with your trading, and the fact that we're in a bear market, and it's not going to finish till we've done our cycle, which is typically 12, 13, and 14 months, and the average is 13 and a half months. So let's go ahead and while we're here, we'll just take a quick look at, well, this is our other friend. This is XRP, and you can see that I've populated this yellow line through a bunch of our lows going back before we had our tumultuous top here in July. And I feel that for XRP, July is a very important month, and can we see, a turnaround in the market in the month of July? Certainly, absolutely. We don't have to move down in a lowing or a lower pattern like I've stated. We could easily stick around into these areas, and we could certainly see, the market hanging around, maybe around this, I'm thinking 70, 72, 78. We have a classic amount of planets here at the ring on 72 on our longitude, and we have Neptune and we have Saturn there. So, for me, it's pretty easy to see that. Well, it's not pretty easy. It's showing that with the market doing this, it's likely impossible that we see prices sit down around these areas. And what would that also look like moving forward here? Well, moving forward, I've populated some past movements here with these previous sticks here that looks like sticks, but this is on a weekly chart. I just copied the previous campaigns, and I'm just measuring it out. It shows that it's likely impossible that in July and August and September here and into October that we could see a bottoming pattern emerge. And that probably makes sense, because typically the market has 12-month and 13-month and 14-month bear markets, and this is probably gonna chew on you for a while, while you start to see the market turn around. And just because I've got this yellow trend line moving down here doesn't necessarily mean that prices will adhere to this or bounce off this or respect this trend line. We're in a very volatile part of the year now, and we're starting to see again the energy of the market has broke loose. when I was told that, oh no, this is different and we're going to be heading back up and XRP is going up to $15. And God, I've heard every excuse from every moon boy out there that, this is different and it's going to take off and you don't know what you're talking about. But here we are. The chart is telling us what we're talking about, and it's starting to show weakness. Now we could, again, we're going to see many retests, possibly on, an angular movement down like this until we can get above this and bounce up underneath the underbelly of this. We'll probably be retesting this 120 once we dip down. So I just wanted to point this out and show this to you guys. It's just what happens. History seems to repeat, and we're doomed to repeat history if we don't look back and study what has appeared in the previous campaigns. So thought I would just leave you with that, and we would just take a little look at what we could, expect to see in the market. And with Bitcoin seems to be the leading cryptocurrency or asset, and right now it's still in this bear market, and it doesn't look like it's going to recover you know until the end of the year. And we could certainly see some whipsaws, a bounce off this 50 and 40 level. It's we could easily see these levels attained, just that the market is continuing to repeat this process. And again, our indicators here are, they're pointing down. And with all this downward momentum here on our indicators, it's just showing us that there's still a tremendous amount of weakness. And until we overcome these angles from our indicators, we're not going to be seeing a bull market. And again, our Clarity Act needs to be brought before the Congress, and it needs to be approved what the wording is going to look like. And when that's done, then I think that the market will have made bottom sometime again, where the midterms for this elections are coming in. And I think that it could carry on as well into the early part of 2027, because once the Clarity Act has passed and whatnot, it still needs time to for the market to digest everything that's been approved. And of course, we need to see the time cycles run out so that we can see what's going on. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention today, guys. It's just be safe out there. We're going to see some bounces and retests, and then some more weakness. So just really hold on. Anyways, happy birthday to my guide, William Gann. He's made a major imprint in my life, and I've created this tool to backtest all his work and explain exactly how we find the longitude of prices, and how we can see prices also change trend, but also when these red lines here, these are 45-degree angles, and this is just dividing the circle in half again, and into quarters. So where they signify, we get changes in trend. The next one, it's looking like this one on the fixed position is showing about June 21st, where we should be having another change in trend. The last one was around the May 6th area. What happened around May 6th? Well, let's just back up a little bit and let's have a look. Well, let's have a look here. May 6th, right? There's your top, guys, right? And I told you we would be making it up somewhere in this 70 and 80. And when Jupiter was at 19 degrees of Cancer, we made 82.9 right here on this, and that's exactly and precisely where we did make it, right? 82.9. So just wanted to share that with you. Peace and love to you, brothers and sisters, and be safe with your trading out there. Peace and love.